Hey guys, it is April. Can you believe this? It's like the middle of January with all the snow we've been getting here in Toronto. I hope your quarantining has a bit more better weather. Or maybe I don't want you to have good weather because the bad weather is making staying indoors nicer in a weird way. But today, if you are wanting to become a filmmaker or you're wanting to improve your directing skills, this is the video for you because I'm going to be reviewing your guys' documentaries. I asked in my last video for you to submit them, and wow, the response was incredible. I literally got hundreds of your films sent to my inbox that was flooded. It's been taking a while to work through them. I got my whole team working on it, but thank you for submitting them. So today I'm gonna be breaking down those videos, giving you guys lots of feedback, what worked, what didn't, and at the end of the video, I'm gonna be giving you a quick little documentary masterclass on kind of the tips that I noticed that I think we all could be taking to improve our films. And there's two quick videos I'll put the link to in the description below that will help you kind of understand documentary genres and help you understand documentary story structure that could really help you understand a lot of the feedback that I'm giving today. But let's get into this before I have to shovel this backyard because of all this snow. Yo! So before we get into things, I want to let you know today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. And if you're not familiar with Skillshare, it's an incredible online community for creatives where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. And I actually took a big step in my creative journey recently, and I color corrected my first full-length documentary. And I actually went on to Skillshare because it's not an area that I'm necessarily super confident in color correcting. So I actually took some courses online on Skillshare for this. They have an incredible one from Dan, and I got to learn a lot about, making sure the skin tones are right and balancing the background. There is literally thousands and thousands of classes that you can take. And it doesn't just stop there at filmmaking. They have courses on illustration, painting, even interior design, which I'm thinking of taking some of those courses because with COVID-19, you realize just how boring your decorating of your home is. And Skillshare fits your schedule. Most of the classes are under 60 minutes. You can jump in anytime and make it work for you. And I'm really excited to be offering a free 2-month premium subscription for the first 1,000 people who sign up below. Make sure to jump on that. It's gonna go really quickly. It's free 2 months. You can jump on there and learn anything, maybe even baking if you want to. I know I've been baking a lot of cookies lately, brown butter, loving it. But make sure to jump on there. That description's down below. I know a lot of us have a little extra time on our hands, and this is a great chance to learn some new skills. But let's talk about documentary filmmaking and the films that you submitted. So let's get into things, and I'm gonna put a link below to every film that I'm talking about. I think it's really important that you get the chance to watch through them, at least skim through them. It'll give you a lot more context to what I'm talking about. But I think one thing that I noticed across all of the films that they've been missing, and I talk about this so often, is establishing what the main character needs early on. And actually, a lot of films didn't even establish who the main character was. And this is difficult for us as an audience because we don't know what we're watching then. Who are we following? Who are we journeying with? And what is it that they're trying to accomplish? A story is interesting when we know that there's tension, something that someone is coming up against that they must overcome. So my first film I'm talking about is Kona, and this is a beautiful film. It is shot by filmmakers called Frame to Film. It's very gorgeous. And what I really do like about this film is right away it establishes who our film is about. Right away, the film tells us that it's about a triathlete and she's trying to finish the Kona Ironman, which I used to do triathlons, and Ironmans are insane. I never got up to that distance. They're bonkers. So right away, we know who this film is about and what she is trying to do and what she's trying to accomplish. Now, my only criticism is a lot of people do the Ironman. It's kind of like, well, yeah, she has to complete that. A lot of athletes do that. It would be nice to know what's making this unique. What's at stake for her? If she doesn't complete it, how will it make her feel? So you want to kind of establish that early on so we know that this is important for this character to overcome, that we know that there is something riding on this for her beyond just trying to finish a race. It'll make her a more interesting character. The film actually brought in the voice of her husband as well, which I think was a really smart move by the filmmakers because it allows other people to directly talk about your main character, and they can say things about that character that the main character would be maybe nervous talking about themselves. So I thought that was a really smart move by the filmmaker, and I can tell that these guys put a lot of work into this. They shot her working out, they got into her life, they followed her around, creating a good full fleshed out documentary takes time. That is one of the most important things about it. You need to spend time with your characters for them to become comfortable with you and for you to get some unique moments. Because if you just arrive at someone's house and try to shoot something in 10 minutes, it's always going to feel like you shot it in 10 minutes. You're not going to feel like we really know that character that well. So my hat, I got to tip it to these guys. I can tell they spent some time with this character. You can tell that these filmmakers spent time planning out. I always talk about how Google Earth and a little bit of a location scout is so important for filmmaking. It's going to change your film. And I can tell these guys scouted out the course as much as they could, because trying to follow someone on a race is very difficult because they go, 180 kilometers on a bike in an Ironman. You can't follow them that entire time. So when we got to the race section of the film, it was cool to see the effort they used. They got a drone. They tried to get as many moments of her throughout the race. My criticism is I would like to see maybe a few more. If this whole film is about the race, it just kind of felt like the race was this nice montage. There was no tension in the race. Even the choice of music never made me feel worried about her during the race. As an audience member, I was thinking, she's going to complete it, she's going to crush it. We didn't know that she was still trying to win and do her best. We only find out later after the race that she talks about her body not responding and it not going that well. It would have been cool maybe to hear a bit of her voiceover during the race, so we would have known that there was some more tension, that she was trying to overcome something during that, because then the race just became a montage, and that can get boring when you don't know why you're watching this besides beautiful images. And luckily this film does have a lot of beautiful images. Overall, great job on Kona. It was a great film. I would just say try to raise the stakes a bit more. Let me know what's going through our character's mind throughout the film. But good job on it, guys. The next documentary I'm talking about is a really short one about, again, sports, but it's about a hockey player here in Canada. It's called Dreams Are For Everyone. This was about a teacher in his mid-40s who was trying to become a hockey player in the NHL. And what I just said there is actually my biggest criticism for the film, is that a 2-minute film, it took 47 seconds to establish that plot point. The filmmaker, when they sent this to me, they mentioned that in one sentence, and that's why I clicked on the film, was that they said this is about a teacher in his 40s trying to make it into the NHL, and I was immediately drawn in. I knew who the character was, and I knew what they were trying to overcome, being older, 44 years old, and having a career as a teacher, and then trying to become a professional athlete. I was drawn in. But the problem is, in a 2-minute film, it took them almost halfway into the film before they established that. So for me as an audience, I'm halfway into the film, not sure really what I'm watching. You need to punch me right off the beginning of the film. You need to draw me in. I need to know why I'm watching this. And that can be a really cool edited sequence that has some beautiful visuals. That's what I did for Escate. We started with something really intense and established all of our characters. Or you need to let us know what the person is overcoming. And so I felt that one plot point, a teacher who's 44 trying to make it into the NHL, I thought that could have been established a bit earlier on, and it would have drawn me in. Now, sometimes you don't want to reveal everything about your character. There is hurdles about them that you want to reveal later on in the film, but we need to know what's at stake for them as quick as possible.
The Dreams for Everyone campaign, it's a cause greater than myself. Me playing one game of the NHL is really all about the journey and the why I'm going out and doing this.
The next film I'm talking about is called You'll Be a Man, Son. And it's by a really cool filmmaker who I've never knew his work until he sent it to me. And I can't pronounce his name. I'm going to get him to actually say it here. I got him to send me a voice note on Instagram.
My name is Omar Largesh. You pronounce it Largesh.
There you go, Largesh. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but Omar, great film. This is one of the most beautiful entries that you guys sent through. This is a stunning film, real great composition, really draws me into the main character. I love the style, I love the coloring on the film, I love the frames he chose, a lot of center-weighted shots that really establish this character in the world that he's in. Now, the filmmaker really tried to use what was around the city where this character is to embellish his story. Like when he was talking about the mother, we see the sign of the statue. The filmmaker here was trying to make a concerted effort with his cinematography to reflect the emotional journey that the character is going through. Now, again, this is more of a poetic documentary style, so I understand it's its own sort of genre, but you've heard me say this again, I kind of wish I knew a little bit more of what was at stake stake for the main character? What is the tension in his life? Is it that he had a strained relationship with his father? Is it that he's trying to become a successful businessman? I don't really understand what the main character is trying to achieve rather than reflecting on his father. And if this is just supposed to be a poetic allegory on his relationship with his dad, I can understand that. I just think when you can inject a little more tension into your film, again, what is that the main character is trying to accomplish? What are they trying to achieve? If you can add that into the film, I'm going to be drawn into the character, and there will be a sense of relief at the end when I understand what the main character has learned, which Omar did a great job. He had the main character do a final reflection, a final thought on kind of everything he was just talking about. So kudos to Omar on this. It's a very beautiful film, and I think Omar in your next film, injecting a bit more of that tension will really elevate it. It will really separate it from so many of the beautiful films that are out there. And I just want to get into the last film now, and if you're wondering also too why the background lighting has changed and maybe a bit of my outfit, that's because I took a nap, a real good nap. I'm exhausted. I was up way too late last night color correcting, and then I also played a bit of Call of Duty Mobile. But anyways, that's besides the point. Let's talk about In Irma's Wake. This was a great film. Now, this was a verite-style documentary. If you want to know more about the different styles of documentary, I'll put a link to a video where I explain all that. Verite essentially is just letting a lot of the events unfold in front of you. And the filmmaker Sleeping Alligators did a really good job of transporting us into the Florida after the destruction of the Irma hurricane. And it was a really powerful account of these people's lives where you really were brought into the ground zero, the ground floor level of the destruction of this massive hurricane. And we got to see firsthand how it impacted these people's lives. I thought the filmmaker did a really good job with their drone shots, showing us the world that these people were in. He got down into the nitty-gritty inside even the boats that had been crashed. I was really impressed with, at the end of the film, I felt like I knew a little bit more. I could empathize with these characters with what they had been through. So I was really impressed with that. And also too, the film felt like a bit of an adventure. We are with a new character every day, going into these communities, finding out what's happening in these people's lives. And in a really cool way that the film wrapped up is at the end, we hear this line from the one character saying,
"I used to ride horses years ago, and when you fell off, you had to get straight back on."
And that set us up for the triumph of the film, which was, yes, this community has been devastated, but here we are, modern day 2020, and here is the rebuild. Things have actually gotten back to a bit more of a normal than the people ever thought they could. Also, just a little side note to the DP who shot this, please, get a variable ND. Your exposures were crazy. So I know it was bright sunlight. Maybe you didn't have access to all your gear because there was just a hurricane. But really, in the end, when we're watching it, there's no excuse. The exposures were crazy. A variable ND would help you a lot. Now, the criticisms I would have for this film is kind of at the beginning. It says this is an unfiltered story, which made me feel like I was going to be following one character or a more traditional story arc. So that statement at the beginning, this is an unfiltered story, kind of threw me off a bit because I was waiting to follow one person or find out what their inciting incident. Again, a film should have a character who's trying to accomplish something, but we never really knew that. It was just a series of vignettes. So I feel like they could have just left that out of there. This is an unfiltered story. That felt a bit too on the nose. I mean, I would hope your documentary would be an unfiltered story. That's kind of the default place for a film, but the fact that they took the time to put that in a title made me think that this was really important and I should be really following the story along. But to be honest, there really wasn't a story in this film. It was just a series of vignettes of these people's lives, but they were powerful. They kept my attention because we were seeing firsthand what these people were talking about, and they were interesting characters. But if I were to go back and have shot this, it's difficult because I know the filmmaker probably was amongst the destruction and was just trying to make the film along the way. But maybe you could go back and interview a couple of people and hear about the progress that happened in their lives. Or maybe you could have made a couple of the aid workers that we were following throughout the film maybe a bit more central to the story. Understand why they are doing this, who they are. Spending just a little bit more time with those characters who you might have had more access with would have given us characters who were a bit more fleshed out, who were a bit more interesting in the sense that we felt we knew them a bit more, because it just felt like we were getting quick snippets of everyone's lives and then we were on to the next one. It would have been nice to have had one central character to kind of take us through that, whether that would have been the filmmaker or one of these aid workers. But overall, well done. This was a great job, Sleeping Alligators. Guys, I could talk about your films forever. There were so many of them sent over. I really wish I could review more of them. Thank you for taking the time to send them to me, but more importantly, thank you for taking the time to make them. It's really impressive where you guys are going. I would say the overall tip that I would give everyone is the thing I kept experiencing with all the films I was watching is people would have a topic. They would have a topic about an event that happened, a news story about poverty in Africa, but they wouldn't ever have a story. See, a story has a beginning, middle, and end. It has a character who needs something, and we travel with them, whether that's in their mind, their emotions, or in the real world, and we get to see them try to accomplish what they need, whether that's an emotional need or a physical need. But I found a lot of films that were sent to me were just random shots of beautiful countries or people walking around. I didn't always know who the character was and what they needed. Those two things you need to be able to answer within the first 10% of your film, or establish that within the first act of your film, or else the audience doesn't know really what they're watching. There's so much content on the internet that they'll end up skipping on to something else if they lose their attention. Think about your favorite show on Netflix or Amazon, wherever you watch your films. You know who the characters are. You know what they're trying to get. You know what they need. That's what makes it interesting. That's what allows you to come back week after week. And you need to inject this into your documentaries. You need to have characters. You can't just have a topic. It's not a story. That's what my filmmaking teacher always used to get us to say. A topic is not a story. Anyways, guys, if you want me to review more of these films, let's try to get this video up to maybe 1,500 likes. If we can get it up to that, share this video. Let's get this video up to that many likes, and I'll consider reviewing a few more of these films on my channel. It takes a lot of time, but I love it. I love the work you guys are doing. But thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate the time that you're spending with me here during this COVID time, and I'll see you on the next one.